everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight, and it's great to see so many people in the community here as well as builders. So tonight's a really great way for us to start a conversation on how as a community we want to live. I think that often property developers are faceless, and often property developers do keep their cards close. I guess at the moment we do have a very big vision, and we are progressing our vision and designing this master plan in a very unorthodox way. It's a very exciting thing, but it's also a very scary thing, I can tell you. Kind of sitting up here as a property developer with this big vision and being able to have anybody in the community comment on that. But I think what's really exciting about tonight is that we have a group here of very forward-thinking key speakers, and it'll be really great to hear what they have to say. I think that probably everybody tonight came into the room with a set of expectations of how tonight would roll out, maybe a dozen of different questions. What I probably encourage everybody to do is, if you can park that at the door, because tonight's not going to be like the average neighbourhood meeting that you would often see in the community. Tonight's going to be a little bit different, but I'm excited that Brunslea Park always does things different, and we always seem to see great things come from that. So thank you so much, and thanks for being a part of something that's going to, I believe, really transform Wagga and absolutely our community.
Recognising that human beings are social beings, and we definitely do herd. We get together in groups. Even when we have singular time, we definitely look for opportunities to come together in groups. And that has it on the level of whether you're at work or whether in a community group or in a shop or a cafe or at a neighbourhood level and even at a city level. And I think that what he emphasises is really understanding the makeup of your community and the way that we shape our places to allow for connected communities, and how we allow people to come to their full potential by means of giving experiences and places to allow people to connect.
Where we've arrived to today is that emphasis on those unplanned conversations, and I kind of picked that up through that book, that you know, one of the things that we can't choose in life is that we can choose the sporting club and all these other different things, but what we don't have control over is our neighbours. And that actually, that is a test of our resilience and so many other different things. So one thing that we have incorporated in our new master plan, or our draft master plan, is landscape linkages that that actually lead to a meeting place. So that could be a central park, or it could be a family-friendly tavern steakhouse, leading to those focal points in the community. And that's one of the key things that I got out of that conversation that we had a few months ago.
Being able to activate, you know, choice in your neighbourhood and your city is really important. So we're not just boxing everybody into one interest. At a neighbourhood level, having mixed ages and mixed density, I feel brings a fair bit of that accidental conversations between neighbours, and walking down paths and bumping into elderly residents as much as family residents, as much as single occupiers. And so if you're new into town and you haven't met anybody, but then there's someone else who's lived there for 30 years but might have just moved to that neighbourhood, says, well, I know of this group, you know, why don't you come along with me? I'll introduce you. Or did you know there's a really great eating place down at so-and-so's road? And it's just that kind of accidental conversations. But you have to have spaces and places for people to walk and bump into to be able to connect communities at that level. Yeah. And I think that's where I'm saying ingredients of that have always been in Wagga, and it's about how we continue to build on that sense of community, even when it's changing and growing.
Yeah.
So this quote's by Melissa Mean and Charlie Timms, and it's about growing the public life of cities. Yeah. And I guess that's a bit of what I'm chatting about tonight. So they say that parks, streets and other public spaces provide the necessary bandwidth for the flow of information between people, so that they can actually connect to talk about where they live, where they learn, who they live with, and what they look like and what they actually do. And so for me that captures a lot of about connecting communities and about livable cities.
I think in terms of subdivision and land development generally, this is what works best, is that the relationship that planners and councils build with developers. And in my experience, the most successful places are the ones where you can develop that relationship and you can have a meaningful conversation with a planner or an urban designer or a developer about what is best for the community. We've been designing subdivisions and suburbs around cars, and I think you could go to a subdivision from the 80s and 90s, you could go to Kingston out of Hobart, or you can go to somewhere like Croydon or Keilor out of Melbourne, Borkham Hills in Sydney, and every subdivision looks the same, and you end up with this homogenous sort of, you know, we often call Legoland, or, you know, a style of development that's the same, and it's like no place anywhere. I think in recent years in planning there's been a real shift away from the motor car and more about planning and designing places for people. So I think Wagga is as capable as any regional city or any place I've ever worked or had any experience of achieving a lot of this stuff. And again, I just emphasise, I think there's great staff at the City of Wagga. It's a great organisation. There's a lot of passion about this kind of thing, and I think it's great that we're having a dialogue with Sam. You know, I just think it's great that we're having this conversation, and that there is a developer in Wagga who's embracing this kind of stuff. I've been a planner for many years, and a lot of these ideas have been around in sort of some shape or form, but it's not often that you see the development community picking up on this. So I think in terms of Brunslea Park and the rest of the city, it's about setting a benchmark. And choice. As a new person to Wagga, I think housing choice it's really interesting here, is that there seems to be a lot of one product on the market, which is a 3 or 4 bedroom house on a 700 square metre block, and not everybody wants that, and everybody's at different stages in their life cycle. And if you're creating a development that has mixed densities and different housing choices, then, you know, you're catering for more than just mum, dad and the 2 kids, because not everybody is at that stage in their life cycle. So if you have a development where you've got some medium density housing or different forms of housing, then, you know, older people can stay in their own community when the kids leave home, or that choice is there. So I really applaud you.
We ask people how likely they are to get help from their neighbours. That's one of the measures in the plan, and I think it's about 40% of people do think they can get help from their neighbours. And we look at things like participation in events, and we have seen quite a number of events come to Wagga since that plan was first implemented. So that would be an improvement, I would think. And it's also about being able to have your say and be involved in the decisions that affect you. And this is probably a prime example of that too, that you are actually part of the decision-making process and you're part of making this city better as well. So having that opportunity and also having access to information. Having access to healthy health services, education, about how to be healthy, as well as having integrated transport. There's all these different facets of what make a healthy community. And I just wanted to read you what the community vision was, because it probably summarises what we all know is so great about the place that we live. So our community vision says, "We are a thriving, innovative and connected community on the Murrumbidgee. We are rich in opportunity, choice, learning and environment. Wagga is a place where paths cross and people meet." And I think it sums up what is unique about us. And I know, Sam, you were saying, you know, we're known as the city of good sports, we're known as a food bowl and all these other great things. But it really emphasises how excellent we are at quite a number of things. And in the vision itself, and this was created by the community, so it was created with the consultation of over 1,500 people, and this is what got shaped. That we are thriving, and I know we were saying that you drive anywhere in Wagga and you can see development happening, which is very exciting. We do have innovative businesses here and innovative individuals that make this city well known, and the connection comes through again, and how we connect in different ways is really important.
I just really want to emphasise that this is, with this new master plan, that everything that is said tonight will be completely taken on board, and that just to really, I guess, lean in and have your suggestions and lean into the activities later, but this is absolutely a really genuine opportunity to share your thoughts, and that we're absolutely trying to lead and take the charge and I guess work with council to provide win-wins. So this is a really great opportunity to eliminate that disconnect between council, developer, community. So that's really all I wanted to say.
Like community engagement plays a really big role. As I said, it's been discussed here tonight about how good Wagga is at being community, inviting people over, getting people involved, and I guess that's what it's all about, is getting out to know your neighbour, not only at your side there, maybe across the road or down the street, behind if you've got a neighbour over the fence there, and just sharing a drink with them, inviting them over for dinner. Community engagements are really beneficial for promoting good relations in the local community, and we all have a part to play in it. As it was discussed earlier on, we don't necessarily get to choose our neighbours, but you can choose how friendly you want to be to them. Yeah. Well, I'm really proud of Sam and her team here at Brunslea Park and the builders, and as well as their relationship with councillors, because they're looking at ways of improving it. A big controversial topic at the moment in Wagga is about the laneways and the access between people's houses, that it certainly gives the people who are up to criminal activity ease of access of being able to go in between that there. So Sam and Brunslea Park have taken that on board, and they're looking at ways that can open it up so that that there isn't that little laneway between you and your neighbouring residents, or out the back there. It's not hidden and secluded, where people will have access to immediately to your fence or your property and move along from there. So it's really positive as far as what's happening out at Brunslea Park as opposed to the other developments. Police have regular meetings with council and developers around town, but not everything always gets taken on board, and Sam and her team here are really unique as far as that they really want to make Brunslea Park a really livable place for like everyone that goes there, so that everyone feels welcome, everyone feels safe, and that's a genuine thing in promoting like community spirit and making it a great place to live. People want to be out where you guys are at.
What you're doing, as I see it, is you're developing a community. You're not just putting bricks on dirt. You're going to make a city almost within a city, something for people to envy and to look at, which will put pressure on the council.
How do we sit in terms of Forest Hill, Brunslea? How do we sit in terms of the city as a whole, in terms of being safe? How are we on compared to other suburbs?
Yeah, it's a very, very safe suburb out at Forest Hill and Brunslea Park. There is the occasional break and enter or steal from a motor vehicle that does happen there, but on the scale of a suburb, like from being in Wagga compared to there, yeah, pretty much relatively about a scale of 1 on a scale of 10. Yes, that's pretty safe out there, and very, very good residents all around in Forest Hill as well. So there is a small pocket of minority everywhere, but that's our job to look after those guys there.